Welcome to AFL Uncensored. I am your host, T. Johannesson, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Amari Fraser. Amari, we've taken a few weeks off here. There's a couple of reasons for that, which we're going to kind of talk about today. I've been you and I have been talking what we want this podcast to be, and we weren't really sure how it was going to turn out when we first started. We weren't really sure what the interest was going to be, but the interest has been really good, and we want to keep it going. Now, there's a couple things we have to do. So I haven't mentioned this before, but it does cost me about $100 a month to run this podcast, between the programs that I have to pay for monthly to record these things, to make it sound good, to make it sound professional. And, $1,200 a year to run a podcast is not something that I really want to do. So if the interest continues, we're going to be working on some sort of subscription price for people. Now, calm down, everyone. It'll be in the neighborhood of $3 to $4 a month. So if you want to support this podcast, we're going to need that to help us do that, because personally, I'd like to save up to have a baby soon, and $1,200 a year is not ideal, as much as I enjoy doing the podcast. So $3 to $4 a month. I'm not exactly sure how we're going to do that, but it will be something we start introducing soon. If you refuse to pay $3 to $4 a month and we don't get enough people doing it, then the podcast will end up dying. So that is kind of just the situation that we're in. Or if we can get sponsorship or something like that, but that's kind of where we're at right now. Hey, Omar.
Yeah, because it's always something too, because especially when it's coming out of pocket, it's like, okay, like this is a passion project and everything, and we're hearing a lot of good stuff, and it's not that this is something that we're trying to make money, but at least saying, hey, like this is for the league, and you want to try and recoup those costs, which I through sponsorship, through subscription, we'll figure out how it is. Do we introduce ads? We don't want to have this be something where like this is an expense sheet on TJ's book. So we're going to be figuring out. We'll figure out something that will.
Yeah, and there are a couple of things. Obviously we'll take sponsors and we can run ads. There's a subscription price, like I said, a cheap price for people to listen. And if we get over what it costs me to run the podcast, then the money will be going back into the podcast to make it even better. So there are other things that I can get to improve the podcast, to improve the ability and the reach, because, some of the things that we want to do, and I've had a lot of people from the NFC reach out to me, is we kind of want to make this a CMFL, Canadian Major Football League, podcast, not just AFL, because we've had a lot of people in the NFC reach out and be like, hey, could you do this for our league? Could you do previews for our teams? Could you interview our players? And we want to do that. We want to extend that. And, the more, basically the way podcasts work is I get a certain amount of episodes for the money I pay a month right now, which is about $100. If we want to do more episodes, it gets a little more expensive. So we want to be able to expand the episode reach. We want to be able to consistently pump out one episode a week. But then you're looking around the $120, $130 a month range to do one episode a week. So that's just something that's going to be coming. You can let me know what you guys feel about that. I'm sure that $3 to $4 a month is okay if this brings entertainment to you, which we want to keep doing. And I think it's going to continue to get better, especially as we move into season. Moving into season will naturally bring out more spice, more uncensored, more trash talk, more shit talk as we move into, the game day previews, the weekly previews, predictions, and all that stuff. So, but moving on to today, and obviously this is still a free episode for everybody. We've got an awesome guest today. Syngyn Sperling is joining us today. Syngyn and I have played together in the past. We've played against each other, and he is currently helping coach the Edmonton Elite. And he's also an avid AFL fan. He follows the game. He watches film. He's up on what's going on. So he's going to be. We haven't even officially decided this, but we're just making him our AFL uncensored insider. So we'll have him on when he can come on to talk about the league and talk about the things that he says. So Syngyn, welcome and thanks for being here.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. So Syngyn, just to give guys a quick run through of who you are, just kind of talk about yourself quickly, your AFL history and how you got here.
Yeah, so I'll just start off from the beginning. I didn't start playing football until grade 10. I was maybe 100 pounds. I don't even think I was 5 feet tall yet. And if I was, it was just barely. And I kind of just got recruited out of like the photography booth by one of the players. I went to a small school and they just needed bodies. I kind of figured as I got there. So I was like, yeah, you know what? I'll go play football. These guys want me to come play. I'll come play. And like, I didn't really play many sports in junior high just because I lived far from the school. So it'd been hard to, and my mom was always at work and I didn't have the ride. So I figured, just didn't have the time or the money at that point. So started playing football, was like tiny. I think the first contact I went into was like against a nose guard who was like about 6 feet tall and probably around 240 or so, just a big dude in comparison. And I remember my coach before, he was just saying like, if you see that you're like outsized by a lot, let us know and we'll switch you with a guy like, more your size. So they switched the guy in front of me and then I go up and I'm going against this huge guy. And I was like, yo, coach, like there's a huge size difference. And then he's just like, run the drill. So I remember I just like was like, all right, put my face into him. He ended up dropping the ball. And then after that, I was part of the team. We weren't good. We had one good guy, Anthony Barrett, who ended up playing a couple years in the CFL for the Edmonton Eskimos at the time, now the Elks.
Well, hold on. When did you play with Anthony? In high school?
In high school, yeah.
Wow,
yeah,
I played with Anthony on the Huskies.
Okay, yeah. I kind of figured that he was there around the same time you were.
Yeah.
But I went to East Glen with him, and he was pretty much our entire football team.
Mm-hmm.
He's incredibly good at football, just natural talent. Anyway, as you know, he went on to the Huskies and eventually into the CFL. We didn't really make it into playoffs ever. And if we did, we were out against like the first team. So that was my entire high school career. And I just played corner. I wanted to be a kick returner my whole time interested in football, but I ended up playing corner. I got to field a couple kicks, but not very often, obviously, with Anthony there. And then
did you have Dalton Smarsh as your head coach?
No. Okay. It was Ron McIntyre was our head coach. And then Mr. Strako, I don't know what his first name is, but he coached me for grade 10 and then went on to McNally after that. We had Ron McIntyre and we just like ran super basic defense. Like nobody knew what was going on. We literally ran man coverage. And when I came to the AFL, I've never ran a zone at that point. So I went through, played my high school career of football, nothing really big. I didn't know like about spring football throughout my childhood and throughout high school. So I never played any ball that way. And then I was always interested in rugby because my dad played when I was a kid. So I joined the rugby team when we had one in grade 12 because we didn't have one in grade 10 and we didn't have one in grade 11. So we joined up with another school and had one when I was in grade 12. And that was I first went to a provincial camp to try and join university. I think it was the U18 team. And I didn't end up making the team, but it was like my first time outside of seeing Anthony play football, like seeing really good athletes across the board, like and like the way they approach every drill and things like that. So as soon as I saw that, just something clicked. And I was like, okay, this is what I got to do. So I approached the game with like a different velocity, like different intensity, I should say. And I ended up breaking my nose like the second game in high school. Graduated, didn't play football after that for a couple years. And then I played rugby for Pirates rugby on the north side. And it ended up breaking my collarbone again 2 games into the season. So that was my my rugby career, where I kind of really got into contact sports, I should say, because I wasn't a good football player at all in high school. Looking back, I was fast, I had some athletics, but nothing crazy. Definitely wasn't getting looks.
What brought you to the AFL then?
I had a friend, Tyler Zabatel, who I went to high school with, who ended up playing with the Stallions right out of high school, which would have been 2012 for him. And I saw some pictures of him playing. And then actually looking back on it now, when I first started as an iron worker in 2011, I went to work 2 weeks out of school. I met another young guy there, and he said he was playing semi-pro football for the Edmonton Stallions. And I was like, oh, this guy must be pretty good at football. And then turns out Tyler ended up playing there. And I was like, oh, so I asked Tyler, like, what's the semi-pro all about? Like, how do I get into this? I'd like to give it a shot. And I was kind of thinking about maybe trying to play wide receiver or something like that, even though I never played the position, played corner the whole time in high school. And then, yeah, I talked to him and he put me in touch with Jeremy Mann, told me where a practice was. And I just came out and, I was covering everybody up because like all I did was run man. So like all 1-on-1s is man coverage. So I was covering everybody up pretty well. And then, found more about the league and ended up playing in 2013. So I played with the Stallions for, I think it was 2 years until they folded. But my first year I played corner, and that was my first time really being exposed to like adults because like I played U18 rugby the last time when I got injured. And then like I felt like I was doing all right. Like I was making plays, I was getting knockdowns, but like I couldn't catch the ball. Like I think I probably dropped like 6 picks that year. Like it was really rough.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I ended up like, doing all right, but I really lacked in a lot of different ways. So I looked up like every YouTube video I could find on how to play the position better and like just talk to some guys and, playing against the Fort Mac team when they came into the league. That was my first time playing against guys that played like university ball and guys that were like really high level football players. And then, outside of the physical, like contact part of the game, I was there with them. I was able to keep up with my speed, made a couple plays and whatever else, but I made sure to make a point of just being the best that I can at this. Like, I want to see where this could take me. And then just, iron sharpens iron, getting in as much work as I could with anybody that I could, getting out running and just like learning about the game and watching a ton of film. Because it was also the first time that I was exposed to being able to watch my games. Because in high school, we watched no film at all, except for like a couple highlight plays here and there when like our fullback would intimidate somebody from across the field because he was massive. But that was it.
That's a common thing that we've heard on the podcast. I know Vardo, when he was on here, said that, he watched YouTube to learn some things. And that's what's really cool about our society today is you have the ability to watch other people. And that's been a huge part of my life and my game is watching other people, watching myself, seeing what works, and then adjusting that. Because when you do that, you kind of simplify the game a little bit when you have time to break down what people are doing and how people are treating certain things or how people are running routes or whatever the situation might be. And people need to take advantage of that. It's not just a matter of, I'm going to show up and use my athleticism because, especially playing corner and, you and I, both play corner and I was actually a receiver when I played with Anthony Barrett on the Huskies. I was a receiver my whole life. I didn't start playing corner until I came to the Bucks, and my athleticism allowed me to get away with some stuff. But I was also exposed a lot in that first year because I had no idea what I was doing, and I did the exact same thing. I just went and looked and watched myself and watched my mistakes and watched the guys in the league that were good at it, and was like, oh, okay. And then stuff starts clicking. So that's a common story, and that's I didn't realize you were that raw at football because I've always kind of seen you at a high level. Do you remember the first time you and I actually met?
I think like it would have been 2013 when the first time I played the Bucks ever. But at the time, like I didn't know who you were. It was just like a bunch of trash talk, like, oh, that's Tej. Like, and I remember like Jeremy and like all the guys that had been in the league for a little while at that point were like, oh, fucking Tej is a mouthpiece. Like he just runs his mouth. But, like, man, you were covering guys up, you're making plays, and it was what it was. Like you could talk all the shit you wanted because it is what it is. Like, and then when I came into the team, like we were just young. Like we had a lot of really young talent. Like and like John Cott was there, who was a guy that I played with since the Stallions. I used to play against him in high school against Wagner. We were in the same kind of conference. So I've always had a lot of love and respect for John because, like, working against him every day in practice, like, I was getting stiff-armed and just bullied by him every day. And, like, he has a really weird cut. And a lot when he runs some of his routes, like, he kind of does a back step into his cut. Mm-hmm. It was the first time I've ever seen anybody do that. So, like, every time he'd be able to break loose on me there. And, like, I'd make it up with my speed. But then, yeah, you work against guys that are outclassing you, and you just have that. If you either do or you don't. It's simple as that in football. You're either going to have it or you don't. If you don't want to push to be better, every time you get exposed, you're going to just fall out. you're going to end up being on the pine, and you're just going to end up not showing up anymore.
Yeah, and
right?
John's a we both, you and I played in 2019, and John with the Bucks, and John, I've known John for a long time because I played against him and played with him, and John was always, I remember before I really knew who he was, I was like, man, this guy, every time they throw to him, he somehow makes a catch. Like, bad throw, good throw, double covered, and it would be the most frustrating thing. And I was like, why? How does he? Because and I don't mean it, John, if you're listening, I love you, buddy. You don't look like an athlete.
Not at all.
You don't look like you're good at anything. Like, I'm not trying to be rude here, but you look like you kind of suck at everything you do. And then you come out on the field and you're like, I actually don't suck. Do you know what I mean?
No. Yeah. Dude, when I first started playing with John, dude, on the sideline, this man is smoking cigarettes. I'm not even kidding you.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding you.
Ian Ketch smokes it during games, but not on the sideline, only at halftime.
Oh man.
That's
and
crazy.
He's so competitive, man. But I got a lot of love for that man. And
good guy to go against and to hone your skills, right? In practice.
Exactly. And I've played against him pretty much my whole career at this point, the majority of it. Because like I said, I played 3 years in high school. Yeah. And Anthony Barrett was playing running back then. So there's not a lot of plays that were, he wasn't catching passes.
Yeah.
He was just giving the rock and watch him score. It was pretty much the philosophy of our offense.
Yeah. So let's get into the season a little bit. So we're 3 weeks away from the season. We're recording this on Saturday the 13th, which means we are exactly 3 weeks away from game one for most teams. So Omari and Syngyn, let's kind of talk about where we're at rankings wise right now. So last time we did the rankings, Omari, Brandon Lay was still playing with the Bucks. Things were a little different. So Syngyn, I'm going to start with you because you actually just made a post. So what do you see in the rankings as right now?
I think it's going to be really interesting. I think a lot of teams have a lot to bring. Cold Lake is Cold Lake. I think they've got the strongest defense. You look at the way how the aggressive their safeties were playing last year. They were hitting guys, and it showed. The guys were leaving the field beat up against the Cold Lake defense. It just is what it is.
Yeah.
And it showed. They're a great team, and I think the biggest question is how is their quarterback going to be? Because they just announced that they're playing the high schooler, kind of like you guys, Bilsma, who was underneath the Rayshon last year. So I'm sure he probably learned quite a few things, and I guess we'll get to see what his arm talent is and how he reads. And
do you think he's starting for them? Do you think he'll be starting?
I don't have a lot of information on Cold Lake other than what they post, but they're returning most of their team from what I understand from last year. I mean, we know Rayshon's out, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
they have this other guy, but Rayshon played every game last year from what I remember from film.
He did. Yeah.
We don't really know. We don't really know much about this kid, so he could be great. He could be okay. But
that'll be an interesting one because obviously the quarterback is very important in Canadian football, and your defense can be elite. But if you don't have a good quarterback, and we've seen that with Edmonton, good defense, but the quarterback play was subpar and couldn't really get over the hump, right? So that will be interesting to me.
One aspect that I see with Cold Lake, and I was joking with Teague about this, was how everyone they're signing, there's a moment there where everyone was over 6'5", and I'm like, you guys are just recruiting out of the Lakers. LeBron's calling wants his team back.
Right.
Yeah. They man, their D-line last year was huge. They're gonna be mean, they're gonna be nasty, and I think obviously I think they're gonna be the number one team until someone does something about that. But their quarterback situation is interesting though.
This is very similar to 2014 when the Monarchs first came in, 2014, 15, 16. They had it was playing almost against a CFL level team in a way.
Yeah.
They just had size. It wasn't just they were that athletic. That was a part of it, but they were all size.
Yeah.
So guys like me and you, Tej, it's a battle. You know what I mean? You're okay, well, I can't jam this guy. I can try and get some hands on him, but we're not matching up, and hopefully, I can hold him up and get some team on him, because I don't know if I'm putting this guy down either.
No, and you're right. And I remember there was a guy on Fort Mac in those glory days. I can't remember his name. He ended up going to play tight end for the Montreal Alouettes after he played for Fort Mac. But anyways, he was playing wide receiver on Fort Mac, and I'm going out to cover this guy, and I'd never seen him before. And I'm like, this is the tallest receiver I've ever seen in my life. Like,
Yeah,
and
dude.
obviously he went to the CFL as a tight end, but I was like, this is insane. Like, where do they find these people? And Cold Lake's kind of the same thing. I'm like, where are you finding these behemoths that you come? And anyways, it is what it is. Good on them. Obviously, what happens is when you recruit someone like Teague Sherman to your team, then he tells one person, and that person tells another person, and that person tells another, and it's like a disease. It just spreads, right? They're like, hey, come play football in Cold Lake.
Exactly. Right? I wouldn't call it a disease because for the simple reason, like I personally think this is like great because like
I don't mean disease isn't a negative. I just mean it spreads fast.
No, exactly. But like I remember when Fort Mac first came in with that team, like there was a lot of complaining all around the league, like, oh, this isn't fair, like they're stacked or whatever else.
No, that's bullshit.
Like, but we got the same mindset. A lot of guys don't have they're like, oh, I don't want to play that because it's not a chance to win. It's like, you got to go into the game, but like, I don't care what's going to happen on the field. I'm going to do the absolute best that I can to match up with these guys. Yeah. I'm going to, not just for my team, I'm going to do it for me. I'm going to show me that I can match up with these guys.
Well, take that challenge, right? That's exactly it.
Exactly.
It's not like I saw that
iron,
I didn't see that 6'8" receiver come out and I didn't walk off the field. I was like, all right, let's go. Right. Like I'm not backing down.
At the end of the day, those guys are stepping on the same field you're on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You're going to let them say that they're better than you. You're playing on the same field.
No, I don't have time for that.
Right?
You're exactly right. We don't have time for like, don't complain. Like, just allow it to happen. We should want that. That's exactly what should.
Yeah, and that's no disrespect. That's like, you know, like I played 1 year of CJFL, and I sat behind a bunch of guys that played CIS the year before. You know what I mean? But I was like, I made it on a team as a fifth year guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I just took every opportunity I got. I made plays on special teams. You know what I mean? I have some great footage from special teams there, and like I learned so much in my position for a DB, and then my mentality, because like I knew I was only going for a year, but I knew I wasn't done playing football yet. I was going to come back to the AFL, and I was at some point, and you know, give it the best that I got, and like use this knowledge and see what I can do. You know, I ended up having a kid, like finding out I'm pregnant during my CFL season, so I took the year that I would have come back to the AFL first, off with the baby, came and played with you in 2019 because there's no Edmonton teams by that point. And then, and then like since then, you know, it's just chasing being better. Like I did end up playing with Fort Mac in 2016, the year of the fire, but the reasoning for that, they were free for the year because of the fire. They were in Edmonton, and I knew I was leaving to go play CJFL that season anyway. So I played 3 games with them. I ended up playing I got on the field a couple times against that your guys' Bucks team that year, first year Brandon Lay.
Yeah, that was a crazy good year. That 2016 Bucks team and 26 Fort Mac team, I'd put those 2 teams up against any team ever.
Yeah, dude. No, those were great teams. Like honestly, because like you had Jordan Alexis and
oh my goodness, the talent level on both of those teams. I mean, you're talking about at that time it was a 26-year-old Brandon Lay, and he brought in Josh Blanchard, and we had Jamal Henry. If you don't know who Jamal Henry is, like look this dude.
Well,
up.
and then they had Will Arndt playing quarterback.
They had Will Arndt. He went to the Red Blacks. That was the Fort Mac quarterback. Mike and Jordan Alexis is basically a CFL player that just didn't get a chance or something. Like
he played 4 positions for them.
Oh, I mean, he was insane. And that we had that 2016 year, the Bucks, we played you guys in Spruce Grove in the first game of the year because of the fires. And we ended up winning that game by 1 point, 42-41. And then that was one of the best games I've ever played in my life. 42-41, first game of the season, 2016 Bucks, 2016 Monarchs. And then we met in the finals, obviously. And then that game was back and forth until unfortunately, Brandon had a pick 6 that won the game. Now, I will say that was not Brandon's fault. We had a receiver run an absolutely horrendous slant route, and Brandon's timing was off because of the absolutely horrendous slant route that I won't name his name, but that he ran, and that ended the game. But that was such a great season, and that's what I hope this season gets back to. And I hope
exactly. I think Cold Lake just from the defense in the film that I saw last year, like. You know, I still keep tabs on the teams, and then like, you know, I've got a lot of friends that still play for the elite. So even though I wasn't officially coaching with them last year, I watched a lot of film, and I was giving like, you know, pointers to some guys. I was trying to help their quarterback out, just with like certain things I was seeing, and things like that. Because like I love film, man. I love this game. Film has always been my favorite part. Once I had access to it, I just fell in love with it, and that's honestly like I attribute film to so much of my growth as a player.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing to tell you what you've done wrong, and it's another thing to see what you've done wrong.
Well, and we live in the age of like when I first came in the league in 2010, man, our games would be recorded non-HD and then like uploaded to YouTube.
Yeah,
You couldn't even see what the fuck was going on. Now we live in this age of huddle and HD and you can everything. You know, we just need to kind of train our film guys. Some film guys in the league are still kind of bad.
Getting your mom in the stands to film is not good, man. I had one of my picks I didn't have film on because she decided to look at a plane going over the field.
Yeah, that does happen sometimes. So that's one of the things the league needs to fix is definitely have some standards on our film.
Yeah. But to get back to it, sorry. So at one's Cold Lake, I think I had a lead at 2 or 3.
You have the elite at 2 or Irish?
Sorry, I had the Irish at 2. Sorry, I had the Irish at 2. And a lot of that I attribute, like I know some guys have moved on there. Like you've seen Eric Kyler's there.
Yeah. Now is he playing running back for them, or is he going to play corner?
Probably running back. I know he wanted to play running back for the elite this year. So I mean, he was really productive last year. So why not keep?
He did a good job. He did a good job. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is the same thing as Roach with you guys.
Yeah.
Like that's a defensive guy coming and playing offense, but it's a different mindset when you come from that side. When you've only played that side, it's like, okay, I'm going straight. Yeah. And we've been through contact. Like contact's not something we're shy about, right? So I think you got to play like where a position like John Roche because he usually plays D end if I remember correctly.
Yeah, D end, D tackle. Yeah.
So you have that guy running at you. That's fun.
Yeah. We have we'll get to the Bucks here in a second. We got some big running backs this year. I think with the Irish, nothing's really changed since we did their interview. I mean, they're going to have they're going to have some options on offense. They're going to have some good receivers. Their quarterback can move. Their defense is probably going to be big and strong. I know we actually stole one of their players. His name is BK, and I think he's a linebacker. He might have played halfback for them a little bit last year too. Anyways, he lives in Pinoca now, so he's coming to us. So that's kind of nice. But yeah, the Irish, what a story, right, for them from being basically the laughing stock of the league to being now.
That was a free game. That was a free game for a while.
Yeah, it was a free game for a while.
No offense to the guys that are part of that team and trying to build it, but it was a free win.
It was half the team wouldn't show up, because we're gonna win anyways. Guys would take the weekend off. It's like it's a fucking shit field.
I'm not saying the Stallions were like the best team either. Like that was still the Vandals were still like a fairly decent game for us. And the Drillers, when they had 18 guys, we lost to that team once. You know what I mean? And we had guys we could have just rotated in and just been beating them on gas alone. But I think that I also really like what Anton is doing down there. Yeah. He's really instilling a culture there, and those guys seem to be buying in. And that's the biggest thing on any football team. You get a culture established, and you get guys buying in and doing what they got to do, fundraising, and doing what they need for the team and not just themselves. That's what's going to create longevity in not just your team but in the league as well. Well,
and that's exactly it. And it's building that culture, building that program. And he's I can't sing his praises enough because we need good team in Airdrie. And so Amar, you agree? Cold Lake 1, Airdrie 2.
Yeah, with that's pretty straightforward. I just know with Cold Lake, you have they have the guys. They bring a lot of high caliber guys, which is always good for competition. And just to add on with their defense and what they do, just schematically, they love to. I know one thing I noticed last year is those DBs love to sit at around 10, right at the break point, and they would just. I noticed this with us with Wolfpack. They would jump a lot, and then with their pass rush, it's a very CFL level defense where the rush will get there and under 3 seconds, 4 seconds, and then your DBs are ready to break or anything because the ball's going to come out. So it'll be exciting to see what they bring out, schematically and everything. And again, I agree with you, Syngyn. Film's a big part of, catching guys and seeing what they do and tendencies and everything. And with the Irish, I'm closer to seeing with them and everything here. Just they do a good job with their culture and everything, and how it's organized and. They make decisions through their board and culture. They definitely show good signs for longevity, which is good for the league. and just ensuring that like it's good things to emulate. Of course, you don't want teams to think they're bigger than the league, but it's just good things that you see, and we want teams to move towards. Like I know they have a lot of guys. I think I hear from one of the guys I work out with that they're wondering about jerseys. Like they're trying to think like they need more jerseys because they're suiting enough players, and it'd be interesting to see how they work out with everything there.
Yeah,
like
and
they have a practice roster.
Possibly. It's raised question. Like I know, like I don't want to answer this from like Wolfpack alone, but just of course, like just answering it as like an individual watching a team, and especially in men's where it's a paid, so you pay to play. Like,
yeah,
can you really have a practice roster in AFL where if you were to move to another team, Red Deer, Edmonton, Grand Prairie, wherever? Like, I'm not trying to make it like the whole Calgary thing. I'm not trying to do that.
Yeah.
How do you justify that as a player? Where like, oh, I pay $500 here, be a practice roster, pay $100 here, and be on the field and getting reps.
And I find when you're that close, because like obviously I played with the Stallions back in 2013 to 2015 when they folded, and we had the St. Albert Stars literally right next door, and that was a team that literally split off of the Stallions at one point. After the Vandals already split off the Stallions, from what I understand from talking to some of the old guys. So for guys that don't know, the Stallions were the major team in Edmonton for a while. They won a couple championships in the AFL championships, and they had a couple decent teams with some really good players. Like Grant Shaw was one of the players. He ended up being a kicker in the CFL, but he's a really good DB, and there's some other really good guys that came through here. But the Vandals split off from the Stallions. They ended up winning some championships, and then also off the Stallions later after that, there was another split to St. Albert. Mm-hmm. And then so it was guys would get fed up with one thing from the Stallions or feel like they're not getting the time that they deserve, and they go to the Stars, and vice versa. So it's like there's kind of this like back and forth in a bit, and it kind of hurt both teams in a way. And then something that's always plagued any Edmonton team is like there's guys don't seem to fundraise here. Simple as that. Like it's just guys don't want to put in the little bit of effort for things, and I'm not sure if that's just because like we're the big city. I'm not sure if you guys deal with the same thing, Omari, but it's definitely something that has hurt some of the Edmonton-based teams in the past. And it is harder to compete in a big city market against everyone's giving money to like the youth programs or the U of A or either of the junior programs or hockey. There's a million things here in the bigger cities that you got to compete with more than just some of the local stuff, right?
Yeah, I think that's what makes it really hard is just the competing with so many different things. I mean, here in Red Deer, we don't really have much of a problem. Like I mean, being around for 21 years obviously helps. People know who we are. Right. Like the people that don't even follow football, I'm like, yeah, I play for the Buccaneers. Oh yeah, I know, I've heard of that. And so that it just kind of is the way that it is. But hopefully the elite are figuring that out. I know they're doing some comedy nights and stuff like that.
They definitely they set up a lot of stuff. And like even when I played, like I paid, like they have a couple of fundraisers that they do, but like you're able to work off some of your team fees via fundraising, right? So you're not just benefiting the team by helping the team get money. You're getting rewarded with your time in fundraising towards your team fees. You know what I mean? So you can do things to offset the cost of playing football, which is amazing. Like, and then it's not just a benefit for you; it's a benefit for the team that you're playing for its longevity and continuing to do what it does. And then it's a lot less stress on the owners and the board or whoever's running the teams in any of these communities, right? Like it's a little bit they ask for allowing, like those people give you the option to play football at the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And people need to recognize that too. And that's because we don't have a league without teams, and that's really important.
Exactly.
One thing I want to
go ahead.
Just to add, because I guess that like player movement's always been a thing that the AFL is dealt with or managed with. Now, I think it was one time I saw Dave Cuthbertson make a post on, I think the NFC, like there, I don't know if they actually put a rule in or if they were talking about it, but a bylaw where you couldn't. They basically put a bylaw to manage player movement, because then players basically from team to team to team. That's obviously going to hurt one team where they lose players, but I think the NFC was looking at having a rule in place to where a team couldn't take more than 3 players from the same team if That way, then like say for example, I'm just gonna pull three different cities here. Let's say I'll pull Cochrane, Okotoks, and Chestermere. That way, then I don't relate it to any team, but like say Chestermere had a team and they all went to Okotoks. Okotoks could only pick 3 players from Chestermere out of like let's say the 10 that wanted to try out or like play last year on Chestermere. So
yeah, I did hear, but here's my honest opinion on that. Like, I don't think there should be any rules on anything, because my thought process is really simple. If a player doesn't want to play with you, then you need to look at yourself, right? Like, look in the mirror and figure out, why does this player not want to play with me? Now there could be a number of reasons, right? There could be false promises from another team. But you know I'd almost bet my house, Amari, that you will get players this year from Airdrie that will come crawling back to the pack because they're not playing with the Irish, because they have 60 players and you can't play everybody. And all these guys are going to be pissed off because right now, all these Irish guys are like, well, I'm definitely starting. Like, I'm definitely going to be playing. And there's 60 guys saying that exact same thing. And I don't know.
You get a starting spot on special teams, man.
Yeah, well, for sure, but a lot of guys aren't happy with that. I can tell you that. Like, if so it's like the grass isn't always greener. But I think people should be able to go wherever they want as long as they don't owe fees to a team. I just think like teams have to make themselves a viable destination for players to want to play there. You know, like when I came to the Wolfpack last year, it was an exciting time. It was exciting for me to go to the Wolfpack because Daryl and Rob made it enticing. And then I really enjoyed my time there. Right. So it's, and, had to not be living in Red Deer, I'd still be there. But, yeah, I don't know. I think that I don't really like that much. But
and I guess I'll call. Like I definitely didn't want to make it to where it's like, I know Wolfpack Energy have the whole thing, and I don't want to make it that. But I know, like, just hearing from Syngyn in the past where Edmonton teams would deal with that. There's current things happening now, and like I saw that, so I thought that'd be something I wanted to bring up because thoughts.
The other thing that like I remember from like the Stallions Stars days too is like, if those teams could just get over whatever the shit was between the two of them and just play under one banner, that was a really good football team.
Well, the Stars went to the AFL finals in their very first year.
Yeah, exactly. Like, they were a good team. I mean, you had like Tay was there.
Yeah.
And Tay's like, he's like just a monster, dude. The guy's a workhorse.
Well, and back then he was a force. Yeah. 2013, 2014, he was a force.
Yeah, he could catch, he could run. Like, unfortunately, they had Pappas, in my opinion. Like, Pappas just an interesting quarterback.
Fuck, I have not heard that name in a long time.
Oh,
Troy, are you listening, Troy? Troy Pappas. Holy fuck, I have not heard that guy's name in a long time. You know
I've
what?
heard those balls quack before, dude. And straight up.
Yeah, quack. I can't believe, like, honestly, I can't believe that they let him play quarterback for as long as they let him play quarterback.
Dude. But when he ran the team, so what are you gonna do?
Yeah, that's true. Like, we would literally be like, what is happening here? Like, this makes no sense. But they were good. They were still good.
They were good. But to get back on subject here, basically, the way I look at it, Omari, like, as much as that sucked, and it's happened before too, with when the Irish first formed and whatever else, and then there was also the Gators at the time. Like, both the Wolfpack and the Gators, or not the Gators, sorry, the Irish weren't good teams because all the good players decided to go to the Gators, basically. And it sucks, and overall I think it hurts the league. But we're a pay-to-play league. If guys want to pay money to play on that team or pay money to be on the bench, if that's the case, then they paid money to it. Like, they literally bought into the team.
I would say that the one rule that I would like to see put in place, and maybe it is now. No, it's not. It's definitely not, because the Calgary Kings tried to come in. But I don't think you should ever have three teams in the same area. I think that is an absolute disaster. You cannot do it.
Yeah,
you cannot sustain.
It makes it rough.
It's just like it should just be blanket. Like, Calgary Kings, I'm sorry, but like, go to make your team out of fucking car stairs or something like that. Like, get a little further away. I don't know what it is, but
it's rough. But I do appreciate, like, because I was living in Edmonton playing for the Edmonton Stallions, and so my first year, 3 out of, I think there was like 6 games or 7 games or something like that, I was at home. Like I didn't have to go anywhere. It was a
Yeah.
sweet, like I didn't have to spend gas. It was easy. So in that aspect, sweet. But like overall, it hurts every team because it's so hard to recruit. You end up just recruiting off of each other's teams, getting each other's scraps, guys that are disgruntled, and then they just play the game. They're like, oh, well, that team was charging me $200. Oh, this team was saying like we could do that.
Yeah,
and
yeah. It's all
it ends up being a
bullshit.
shit show, dude. Yeah, straight up, dude.
The one thing too, I guess, just talking with teams, you know, I know, like, I'm not sure. I know there's some talk right now of like some teams either, you know, not having good numbers and folding and all that, and like, it's you know, if a team was to fold right now, I think it'd be a massive loss. It hurt the league a lot just with now changes the schedule.
It hurts the league.
And I think.
Have you heard of teams folding? I haven't heard that.
No, I haven't heard
of anybody folding.
I've heard some low numbers. Just like I just heard that some teams are with low numbers. I don't want to say who because it's all hearsay, so I don't know how official it is. But
exactly,
I'll say it. Fort Mac. You got to get your players at practice, boys. Hey, here's the thing: like Fort Mac is they're going through, and we talked about this off air, Syngyn, but they are kind of going through that that Grand Prairie thing where they, you know, Grand Prairie was an elite team. I'm talking elite team for a number of years, and then they fell off the map and folded and went away for a number of years before Peace Country came back. And now Peace Country's on the up get. Fort Mac,
and that's where thing. Like. And some of the requirements of Peace, like we'll get to that in the rankings here, but Peace Country's kind of impressed me with some of the things that I've heard from some of the guys that I know there and just some of the stuff they've posted. Like I'm really interested to see how they're going to perform this year.
Yeah, I am too. So hopefully, like if you're listening to this and you're in Fort Mac, like check these teams out. It's run by good people. They've got a fantastic stadium. They've got a fantastic history. And personally for me, like when I looked at the schedule and I saw that, you know, the Bucks' last game of the season was Fort Mac traveling to Red Deer, I'm like, that game's not happening. Like they're going to have 12 guys and they're not going to be able to come because probably at that point they're going to be eliminated from the playoffs. Nobody's going to want to travel all the way to Red Deer, and I just think like either the game's going to be forfeited or they're going to show up with 16 guys, and it is actually the most embarrassing thing for our league when. Especially in Red Deer when we get a lot of fans and the fans are like looking at the other team like, why does that team have 13 players?
Yeah, and it makes it hard as like a team to want to like charge people to come watch that game too in a way.
Oh,
because like then you kind of feel scummy. You're like, oh, we just like kind of rob these people in a way.
Yeah. That being said, being said, I'll love that game if like I'm like first or second in the league in receiving by just a few yards, and I can just go off for 300 or something like that.
They got dogs up there too, and like you said, like the people running that place are good people. I think it's still Will, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, Will's still doing it. Great guy.
Yeah, Will is awesome. Like I said, I played with Fort back in 2016, so I got to know Will a little bit through that, and like such an awesome dude, and like
great facility.
They have a great facility up there, honestly.
Yeah.
Great. Like if you're looking for work, dude, like that's a place to go. Yeah, it's Fort Mac, man. Like it's a bit away, but it's a growing city and it's got a lot going on for it.
Yeah, great fan base, great city to play football in. So they got to get up.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get back to the rankings here. So originally in our pre-season, or when we did a rankings a few weeks ago, or a couple months ago now, I guess, Bucks were number 3 because Brian and Lay. Obviously, Bucks have dropped. So who do you have as your number 3 right now?
I have the Elite at 3 for sure.
Okay.
That's just like obviously I'm helping coach them, and like for respect of the team, they've asked me to kind of not say anything about the team too much. They don't want to unveil anything, and I'll respect that.
Mm-hmm.
But they've made some upgrades in some key positions. I don't think they're going to have the same problems that they've had in the past with like quarterback issues per se.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of new faces, so they still have their camp coming up, so a lot will be said then. But like there's a couple young guys there that I'm really impressed with. Just really coachable guys and guys that are willing to listen. And the AFL it's not often you get an ability to have coaches sometimes, so it's good like being a guy that's kind of been there, having some guys listening and stuff too.
That's huge.
Yeah, so I'm really impressed with the group that they have this year. I think they're going to be a good team. Like I said, there's a lot of new guys out there, so we'll see how everything meshes and how it's going out. But I'm really excited to see this team hit the field this year and see what they can put out.
Year 3 for them, right? So it's really, this is kind of a time for them to to figure this out and push to the top.
Yeah, and I think they have an ability to. I think they can match up against like the Irish really well. Cold Lake, I think I think they can play a game against them. But like I said, like knowing how Cold Lake has been, especially I've played against them myself since their inception. I ended up getting I hurt my knee in 2021 against them. And I haven't played since, just due to like rehabbing and life. I've kind of switched focuses a bit. But yeah, so they're a fun team to play in my opinion. Like they're going to make you work for it. And I think that defense that they've had last year and that they're bringing back is just ridiculous. So we'll see how teams play against that. And I think that's the biggest question mark. And then how they rally against the run game, because that's still to be seen. Last year they really struggled against the Irish, and the Irish really made them work. So we'll see where they lie this year, but I've got really high hopes for this team.
Yeah, I think knowing a little bit of what I know and about them and the people running the team, and even last year, going up to Cold Lake in the first game of the season, it wasn't a blowout by any means. And Edmonton, like the reality is like Edmonton had almost no offense last year. The receivers outside of John Cott were not good. The quarterback,
James Aldridge was pretty good too. Like James is a very physical player too, which I think is like a little bit underrated in the CFL. Like how much of an impact that can make. Like when
his stats were pretty abysmal. Now a lot of that is due to the quarterback play as well, right? Like it's
right, yeah. But
there's a little bit into that.
See his blocking, dude. Like he was making some good gaps for the running back and stuff like that. Yeah. So like I know it didn't show up in the receiving stats, but James is
put him at fullback.
Yeah.
No, he is. And James has been the Aldridge family itself has been a great football family, but
yeah.
But yeah, it just I think they can only go up. Their defense, I think, was good last year. I think that if they can figure out a way to stop the run, they played Airdrie tight last year. I don't think they should be thinking that they can't go and win an AFL championship. I think
not at all. I think they're gearing for it. I think they're ready for it.
Yeah, they should be. That you're in the biggest city in Alberta. You have an opportunity to recruit and get out there. You're in year 3. You play at a good facility in Fort Saskatchewan, which kind of has that small town feel to it. So they should do well. Their jerseys suck, just like the Irish jerseys. But other than that, I hate the camo. I just don't like the camo.
I'm not a huge fan of the gold ones, but I like the blacks.
The blacks are definitely better. Yeah. I agree. They're number 3. So, who's your number 4?
Number 4.
The way you said that, TJ.
So I've put Peace Country at number 4 here.
You put Peace Country. And you know what? Yeah. This is interesting. So you kind of touched on it a little bit earlier. They've been signing some dudes.
Yeah, man, they've been really surprising work. And I mean, I'm not like overly surprised because it kind of has that Fort Mac vibe to it, right? It's another oil city. I was born in Fort St. John, which is just around the corner, basically, in BC there. Mm-hmm. So I've gone through Grand Prairie, and like I have family that's lived in Grand Prairie and stuff. So I've been there, and like it's a community again. Like they've got the GP Storm for hockey, and again they're a place that's far away from anything. So the whole town rallies around them. Yeah. So if Peace Country can really start bringing people in to watch games, they're gonna be a successful team. And I think like they've proven it before in the past with the Drillers. Like you played against them, Omari, you didn't have the chance, but
elite teams, man, unbelievable.
Yeah,
teams.
Man, they were nuts. And like for the guys that they had, they were coming with 18 guys, but 18 ballers, dude. Like,
oh man,
they get nuts, man. And
like every one of them were really good.
Yeah, they had guys limping onto the field and still going out for they never forfeited the game regardless of what was going on.
Nathan Aldred was a quarterback, and he was like a Houdini back there. They had this guy named Simon Fowl, who's one of the best receivers I've ever played against. They had Will Quintel was on that team in their prime. Like there was some, and he's a beast safety. And they got so many fans out to the games, obviously, because Grand Prairie, these small towns do. They had the worst field I've ever played in my life, but now they have a new field. They got this new turf facility.
Yeah, dude, that field before with the dipped corners, dude. Oh my god,
you were lucky if you didn't break your ankle and playing on that thing, man. It was just,
dude, I literally would give up on corner routes, and they would throw them on purpose. They would throw them on purpose because they'd be like, dude, people aren't going to get injured here, and they'd get to practice on that bull crap, so they know.
Oh, it was totally shouldn't have been allowed to play on that stupid field. But now they got the fixed up. So they just released a signing, and I was like a double look. I was like, whoa, because I hadn't heard of him before. But then his credentials, I can't remember what his name was.
He's a JUCO guy, I think.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, like some.
I
weird
didn't do a lot
school.
of research on him, but like, you
got to be decent to go to JUCO, regardless. You got to be decent.
Well, yeah, and like that's the thing, and like I always I look at football players from the States the same way I look at hockey players from Canada. If a pretty decent hockey player goes to the States and plays, we usually look pretty good against most people that have played hockey in America. And it's vice versa here. Like if you've grown up playing football since the age of 5, and that's even with like a lot of guys in Ontario, it's a bit more of a football community. And even like yourself and some of the other guys in the league that played from a young age, like it shows. You just understand the game at a different level.
Yeah.
So their biggest struggle a lot of times is just like the little nuances, like the yard off, the waggle rule, 3 downs. You know what I mean? Things like that. And like, especially if he plays DB, getting your head around before you play the ball, because that's, pass interference if you don't get your head around.
Yeah. Little nuances of the game.
It's just the little things, but like, as long as you can, like, you're a smart enough guy to like pick it up quick, then you're fine. But yeah, no, and then they got we have a running back that just finished playing junior, so like regardless, that guy's going to have some football knowledge. It's the same thing like Omari and myself. Like when you go to football every day and you get one-on-one coaching and you're playing with like really good football players, it just advances you. Like I played with Omari, for guys that don't know, in 2016 with the Colts when I went and played junior. I ended up playing with Calgary Colts that year, and that's where I met Omari.
Number 1 ranked.
Yeah, dude, that team was nuts, dude. We had Richardson Danny at receiver. We had what was his name?
O line was the CFL lineman, like Kuziak, Logan
Damon
Wall.
Pelly on defense, dude.
Like on so many guys, but like everyone was nuts. Everyone was lit.
Yeah, Colton Burr, like, oh, dude. Nuts.
Was that the last? Anyway. Was that the last good Colts team? Because they've been shit.
Yes, yeah, it was. It literally was. Yeah, unfortunately, Omari had to go through another year, I think, of that after.
Yeah. It's amazing to me, actually, that they have one team in Calgary and they can't put together a good team. It's actually insane to me. Like, you look at you got 2 teams in Edmonton, and one of those Edmonton teams is always very good. Now, the other one is usually pretty shitty because that's natural, right? But it's
the same thing. They're fighting against each other.
Yeah. Well, and that switches, right? Because like when I went to the Huskies in 2008, the Wildcats were unbelievable and the Huskies were terrible. And so I spent 1 year with the Huskies. We went 0-8, and we had this guy coaching named Dalton Smarsh, which is why I asked you if you played for him, because he coached at East Glen.
Okay.
Yeah, so he coached at East Glen in 2007, because he came right from East Glen to the Huskies in 2008.
Yeah, I would have been after. I didn't go to East Glen, I think, in 2008. I think is when I first went.
Okay, yeah. So 2008, he came over, and he was just like honestly out of his league. He really had no idea what he was doing. I didn't enjoy my time there, even though I was 3rd in the league in receiving on an 0-8 team. But I left. I actually transferred the next year and went 2009. I went to the Wildcats, and then we went all the way to the national championship, and then lost to Andrew Harris, and then the Nanaimo Raiders, and then national final.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's always kind of been like that. So it's kind of disappointing that Calgary can't put that together. But back to Grand Prairie, I think I'm really interested to see, because I believe they have Cold Lake week 1. I believe if I'm correct.
Yeah, I don't actually know what the schedule is for anybody.
Yeah, AFL, get your shit on the website. Get that shit together, because I don't even know where to go to find anything about the schedule. So maybe it's.
I don't even know my team schedule. I've just been everywhere with everything else going on in my life.
Yeah, but I believe it's Jets Cowboys week 1. That I'm very interested to see. I obviously think Cold Lake's going to win, but I'm very interested to see by how much. And I guess I'd be pretty shocked if they didn't win, but it'd be kind of interesting to see the Cowboys make a big upset in week 1.
It's going to be really interesting. And then Cold Lake also had a guy come from the Cowboys.
Yeah, Carlos.
I saw them. I saw them post that. I don't know who he is, but like, he seems pretty sizable, and like,
Yeah, he's an angry motherfucker, that guy.
Yeah, so and size matters. Like, I'm sorry to say, like, if you're just bigger than the person you're hitting, like, it's gonna suck for that person. Sorry.
Yeah.
One thing
I know that because like I played against Tay forever, and he just like has gotten so jacked. And like the last couple of years playing against Devin Stewart and him with the Monarchs team.
Devin
Oh my
Stewart.
God.
Yeah. Go ahead, Omari.
One thing you want to see is just like how Grand Prairie showcases themselves.
Yeah.
Like if it's like a blowout, then they're okay, like yeah. But if it's like not saying a close game, because like I don't want to put any disrespect to Cold Lake, but they come out, they compete, they grind, they get their touchdowns, and like they just show they show those bright spots. That's like what you want to see, because we know Cold Lake's going to be a very strong team, and I'm sure Grand Prairie is looking forward to seeing like how are we going to compete? What's the mentality you got? How do guys respond to the adversity you're going to face that game? That's kind of what you want to see, especially where you're a developing team and had really good strides. That's you not that of course everyone wants to win, but as like the GM, the owners, the guys who manage the team, like that's what you want to see them know, like, hey, like we've built something now where guys handle adversity. They're gonna fight. They're not gonna fold. All right, we got something here. Let's build on it. And like that's kind of like a good gut check to see with such a good team like Cold Lake.
Oh, for sure. And I think even when that you're exactly right, right? Like if the Cowboys are going to come out of that game feeling really good, if they even if they lose by 21 points in certain situations, because like, did we move the ball? Were we 2-0 every time? Was it little mistakes? Like there's going to be a lot for that team on that game, and I'm actually I can't wait to like get home on Sunday and see that the film has been uploaded, because I'm interested to watch that game and see what Cold Lake's doing, who's playing quarterback, how is Grand Prairie looking. That week one, waiting for the films to drop from each team is always like an exciting moment, like can't wait to kind of see what's going on here. But no, that's be good.
I think the big question in the league right now, and I think everybody's already answered, is how are you going to match up against Cold Lake? That is the question for every team. Like it just says like
they're
really
the alpha.
Everybody plays them.
Yeah, they're the alpha right now.
As Gabriel said, you want to go to the ship, you run through Cold Lake.
It's true.
Yeah, Gabriel is not wrong in that. Gabriel told me he was going to play man-to-man against us when we play him, so I'm holding them to that. So
he said one TD in his career. Or something like that. Like what?
Well, yeah.
I don't know about that one.
I know Gabriel's listening, so I'll challenge Gabriel right now. So I play inside slot back. So you got to come off the corner to cover me man to man. So ask your coach to do that once, and we'll see. Just one rep, and we can figure that out with how many of your touches last.
I think I saw on Facebook he bought a Nissan R34. I might. I think maybe they make a nice little wage to say, all right, if we get a score, we get to go for a ride or something like that.
I'm not driving. Fuck that. I'm not driving with that lunatic. I would never trust him on the wheel. No, hell no. That guy drives way too fast for my comfort level, boys. Look, I am so anxious in my life when it comes to driving that I drive everywhere. Like I do not take buses. I do not drive with other people. I am behind the wheel of a vehicle that is moving because I need to be in control at all times. So hell no, but we'll come up with something good. I'm sure me and Gabe will. All love Gabe, but I want the smoke. You want the smoke. And that's how fires start. Right. So it's good.
Hey, that's it, baby.
Number 5, Cinch, who you got?
Number 5 is you guys, the Bucks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing here is just, I've seen some film on Brett. I think he's got, some upside to him. I think last year they really struggled with a lot of receivers. And I think that's the big question with you guys. Like I know with the Lay situation, you were saying that you lost some guys. So is Axe on that list? That's a big question. Like Axe is a huge part. Obviously you're going to be a big part of that offense and that receiving core, but like who else are you bringing? I know Josh Thomas, you guys had for a couple of years. He's a little speedy guy that will do whatever the team needs, but like, is that going to be enough with Bilsma and what's your O-line like? You know what I mean? Do you guys have the guys? I don't know.
Well, yeah, no, I'm not. I'll divulge that because I'm not really. I don't feel like I need to hide everything. Everything gets on film on week 1, anyways, right? So
exactly.
Yeah. So Xavier's planning on playing as of right now. Now there is some slight and that's, I won't get into the details, but there's some slight chance that might not happen. But as of right now, he is planning on playing, which, for me personally, like him and I are yin and yang. We work off each other, right? Like,
you guys
can't,
work really
you
well
can't
together.
double both of us. And that's the thing, right? And so for me, it's like, I need him and he needs me. because you just can't double both of us. It's literally
No.
impossible. You got to
Yeah.
pick. You got to pick your poison, right? And it's not a good one to pick. So
You guys got to know how to split.
Yeah, exactly. And now I'll say, so Josh, Josh is a warrior. Josh is obviously he's a little undersized and not super
I got a
experienced.
lot of love for Josh.
Yeah,
man.
a lot of love for Josh. You know, Josh lives in Edmonton and he comes to every practice in Lacombe.
Yeah.
I have miles of respect for anyone that is going to spend that much money to come and get better. And Josh puts work in. And Josh has
100%.
significantly gotten better since the first time I saw him play to, last week at practice. Josh is significantly better.
Yeah, what I said is no disrespect to Josh at all. Like I've done some work with him here in Edmonton too. Like you said, he's from here, so like I've seen him around. And when I was playing with the Bucks and stuff, I really got to know him. And like the dude is exactly what you said. He's a warrior, and like those are the guys that I really love in the AFL, and like those are the stories that I really love too. And like the guy just loves the sport, and like he's a dog too, man. Like he'll get his nose dirty. He played corner for you guys, and then played some stuff on defense. Got some fumbles. Like he was out there balling. Like and he's catching kicks. Like it's nuts. But yeah, my biggest question with you guys is like I know it's obviously a bit of a QB downgrade. No disrespect to Billsma, but he's young. We'll see what's going to happen. I know a little bit more from what you said now about what kind of offense you're probably going to be running. Just because you know me, I'm a film junkie.
Mm-hmm.
So like I remember when I was playing against you guys. What was it the year you guys won 2021?
Yeah, 21. Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's pretty deadly.
You guys, I think I predominantly watched your guys' film that season and just cracked that where you guys were kind of going, because like you said, it's really hard to cover both you and Axe, and like part of that is you got to know where you're going. And then you also had Ben Hinadiak that year, and I'm assuming Ben's not coming this year.
Well,
and if
also not okay. So Ben is, I would say 50-50 right now. Ben has not said no. So Ben, I think for Ben, it's a work thing. As far as Brett goes, now look, so, and I think I've said this before, but Brett's a Sylvan Lake. I live in Sylvan Lake. I coach in Sylvan Lake.
You've coached him for a while.
I've coached Brett since he was 13 years old, and now he's just out of high school. So for 6 years I coached him through bantam up all the way through high school, and he actually played safety for me in his grade 10 year too. But look, I don't think I can compare anyone to Brandon Lay.
No, Brandon Lay is unreal.
But
he's a big quarterback.
What you're not going to see a huge drop off in the arm strength. Brett Bylsma throws the football that's
not my question.
Brett. No, it's obviously deeper than that, right? Yeah, so Brett, but I'll say this right now: Brett is probably the best thrower of the football in the AFL today. Unless there's someone coming out there, the way the ball, and I said this when I saw him throw the ball for the first time in grade 8. I said, that is special. I have never seen a kid throw a football like that. He throws a football. Now, where Brett lacks, and the reason why Brett lacks in this is because unfortunately, Brett's grade 12 year or grade 11 year was COVID. So Brett lost a year of high school. So Brett doesn't have the football experience right now, especially at the AFL level. And so that, but last year he didn't have any receivers, but now this year he's going to have a lot more weapons. We are there coaching him. Like, just him having me there is really big for him, right? Because I'm a familiar face. I understand the game. I'm talking to him. We're coming up with plays with Dan Johnson's our offensive coordinator, good football mind. We're always talking and we're coaching Brett through. Brett is going to be a force this year. I really believe that. Our offensive line, I'm not 100% sure, but we got some studs there too. We got TJ Sloboda, who played for the Huskies, who's an absolute stud. We got some guys.
All right, sick. I'm interested to see. Like I said, it's not so much the arm talent. I've seen Bylsma play. Obviously, there's some film from last year, and I can say, you guys, they didn't have the receivers last year, and they definitely didn't have the line to keep the pressure off.
No.
And I know you guys got the receivers. Even just having on the offensive side adds a lot of speed and allows you to stretch the defense a bit. And it's just if he can have the time. And the biggest question is, can he make the reads fast enough with some of these guys coming off? With Cold Lake especially, there's going to be some guys coming in. I think the league across the board, from what I've seen and what I've heard for most of the teams, the defenses are really good.
Yeah. So, and
even with the elite, they've got an upgraded defense from what you saw last year. So I think teams are going to be surprised with what they come with this year.
Yeah.
There's some big changes that's happened around the league in general, and I think defense is one of the thing, and I think that's partly to do with Cold Lake.
Well, I think this might be a tough year, especially in the beginning of the year, a tough year for quarterbacks because we don't know really who, like if the Cold Lake starting quarterback is that high school kid, like all due respect to him, but the team he played on in high school was terrible. So,
and it's kind of like, no offense to Billsma either. Like, I don't know like how good Sylvan was.
We were very good.
So he's played on a good football team, and I think that's maybe the big separation between the two. But like at the end of the day, he's still getting like the same thing you said. He's getting coached up by guys that have been around the game. But that still doesn't. When you're on the field, the game comes at you fast, and how you progress through those reads and you make those things happen. And like maybe you guys are running an offense that hasn't run too much before, because it's a different offense than was run out last year. That's for sure.
100%, not even close to the same. It'll look a lot more like 2021 for sure.
Yeah, that's kind of what I figured, and that's kind of like when I heard the Brandon Lay situation, or when you guys announced that he was coming back, I was like, oh, I know the offense.
Yeah. So like, we also have a kid. There's another kid that I've coached who is a year older than Brad, but I've coached him. And his dad's actually the head coach at HJ Cody, where I coach. But his name's Ruben Brainback, and he's a super stud. He might end up leaving to junior. He's going to the spring camp for the Nanaimo Raiders. But if we have him, there's the potential that we have, and he's basically like a mini me. We work really well together. He's very fast. He's I should say a younger me. He's bigger than I am. But he's a force on the boundary. And if we can get there's a potential to have him, who's very good, Ruben, and Ben on the same side, and obviously we know what Ben does. And then on the other side, having me and Xavier, and then Josh Thomas playing the wideout. So there's some potential. That's a lot of speed. It's a lot of skill. There's some
shiftiness too.
Yeah, there's some shiftiness, and our running game is actually going to be pretty good. We got this guy named Tony, who's this rugby player. And he's he's huge. He's like super big and just so powerful. And he just like, I want to run people over. And like, I think it's a fair ranking to have the Bucks ranked 5th because we're just kind of unknown. But I think, obviously I'm biased, but I think, I always think any team I'm on has a chance to win anytime because that's just how I think. But I think we're going to surprise a lot of people. I really do.
Exactly. And then back, since you guys are on it again, and for guys that don't know about John Rocha's situation, I'm not sure how that's going. Or
he's back at practice. He's doing better. Yeah, he's slowly progressing. He's come to the last couple practices. Just a fantastic human being. I just love being around John. Such a good guy.
Yeah, I played with you guys in 2019. I got to know John a bit, and he's just an awesome dude. And I really enjoyed my time at the Bucks.
That was a fun year, wasn't it? 2019. That was a fun year.
It was good, man. It was a fun year. And then
fuck you, Omari. Let's move on to the pack right.
Did some improvements in a couple spots too. I think that was, it was a great game. I think we had a great year that year. But I think a lot of teams were really even that year. And I think it was fun, man. I had a good time that year.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
So I was interested to see how he's doing, and if he was, if he's still accepting money or whatever else, and you guys are, looking to extend a hand, definitely send some his way. Super good dude.
Definitely.
One thing I want to
go ahead,
add there is I don't know, I don't personally know John, but to hear that he's going through his personal health challenges, and he it sounds quite severe, and he still was able to make it a practice. Big props to John there. I'm sure we can all name guys who don't have to practice and have that either. There's the work, excuse, but then there's also the guys that are just I just don't want to show up. Talk about a guy to make it happen. And I feel like I want to highlight that just because, our league thrives off guys trying to practice and team success, and to have him battle what he's battling outside of football and to come to football and find that peace, find that joy, and still come and still make that effort. Big props to him on that.
Yeah, that's such a great point, Omari, and thanks for saying that, because I think that's a message to everyone on whatever team you're on. Show up to practice, because the reason why John shows up is because he loves it. The reason why Josh Thomas drives from Edmonton and makes every single practice, that's 600 kilometers a week. This guy is driving with these gas prices so he can come play football. That is how cool the AFL is, and I just you got to love people like that. So that's a great point.
And we're all here because we love the game. Regardless of what your talent level is, or what your story is, or where you're from, or what your plans are, if you're trying to go pro or just trying to make a CJFL roster, Like, this league is here for you. Like, it's a great league for that. And like, I owe all of my anything I've gotten from football, I've owned to this league. Like, I didn't have any looks from high school. I didn't know where to go. I didn't even know that I could go try out. I did open tryout for the Wildcats because it's not advertised. So I thought I had to get invited. So I didn't even know until I came to the AFL how to get onto a CJFL team. I didn't know where to get film so I could get that. So like, this league allowed me to take that leap and get, better at the game and learn more and meet Omari, for instance. You know what I mean? Like, and you and all this other shit. So
well, we've all met. Look at us. We're sitting here doing a podcast about this league. You know what I mean? Like, it brings people together. I remember a time, Syngyn, I'm sure you remember this. Me, I think you were on the Wolfpack this time, but like, I wanted to go play in this touch football tournament. It was a national championships happening in Edmonton, and I just like put together a team, and I got you and Zach and bunch of Wolfpack guys, and we just went and played touch football together against like the best teams in the country and got just hammered by these like this team from Toronto shows up. It's like 6-7 black guys all across the team, just like, we're just a bunch of like short white dudes.
Literally played rugby against us trying to play football. It was wild.
Yeah, it was so crazy. But it was a lot of fun. But the AFL did that. It was really good. So I'm assuming you have the Pack as your next ranked team.
Yeah, so the Pack's next, and like, I think it's just unfortunate with the guys moving, because I've been on teams that happened. I've kind of been around the league a little bit, and with the Stallions and the Stars, you'd almost lose a guy or two to the Stars guaranteed because they were the better team for the most part. But it was frustrating as a Stallions because you're like, oh, you're like that guy. Plus, if we recruited this guy, we're that away from being like a competitive team in this league. So you lose a guy and you replace him with another guy who's okay, but you don't really upgrade at all. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of frustrating in that matter. And like, I can kind of hear it when Omari talks that he's a little bit frustrated about some of the movement and stuff like that. And I get it, man. Like, it sucks. And unfortunately, it's a pay to play league. So if guys are going to put money down, they're going to go wherever they want to. And that's just the way it is. Like, there's not much we can do about that. And like, I support that. Like, I think if you're going to pay money and you're going to put your own time and effort outside of the game to make money and take away from and sacrifice your time, you should be able to go wherever you want if that's the case. Like, we don't draft guys. We don't have anything like that. We don't have any trade clauses, except for if you've signed on and committed to a team, then you have to get their permission to go anywhere else, which I think is fair enough. You shouldn't be able to play 2 games with a team, be like, oh, they're not winning, and then just leave.
Now, that being said, we should totally we should bring back the AFL All-Star game, but we should do it draft style.
Yes, I love it.
We should do a draft style AFL All-Star game. Like, just like pick 2 captains, like pick your All-Stars. Like, here's your pool of All-Stars. Pick 2 captains. I'm just like thinking of this on top of my head, and then just do a draft. Like, that would be unbelievable. But like, do it the day of the game. You know what I mean? Like, so everyone shows up to the game, because those All-Star games were a lot of fun. Like, those All-Star games were pretty fucking cool.
I never got to play in one, unfortunately. I got my first year, I didn't get into it in 2013. And then 2014-15, we played you guys when you had Tanner Green 2015.
Yeah.
In I think it was the first round of the playoffs. And like, we battled with you guys. Like, it was a close game. I had some massive punt returns and kick returns against you guys.
Yeah, I remember that game. Yeah.
Yeah, on one of the punt returns in the fourth quarter, one of your guys like speared me, but I spun, but he only got my index finger and he snapped my finger in half.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and like, it was
That's
literally
such
just
a
flopping
fluke.
around. I tried to tape it and like, I couldn't do anything. So
it was flopping around. You're talking about your finger, right?
Yeah, my index finger. So it was just flopping around. We tried to tape it and like, I literally couldn't do anything. So I was out for the rest of the game. There's like 3 minutes, and then you guys ended up winning it. So and I got in that year as a safety. Yeah, and I couldn't play.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
And then that was the last year that I was in the league that the game happened, because I was playing juniors with Omari when 2016 happened.
Well, we got to bring that back. Omari, how's the Pack been looking? Like, how your practice been going? How are things been going down there?
We've been looking really good, and because I feel like it's something I can always, I don't want to sound like, I'm not one to like over exaggerate, because I feel like that's something that people like to do a lot, but just with, of course, I know Syngyn, so it's always frustrating because it's like, oh man, these guys are leaving, and like, what was like, I don't say frustrating. Like, I'm not gonna get frustrated with these guys, and they can do what they want. Like, again, that's theirs. But it was like they'd move, and then like I'd see my flag the next day, because like Shaver, Vard, all of us, like we had to do the team here. It was supposed to be Wolfpack and Irish, and then a few other guys, and then it ended up being just me as the Wolfpack guy, and then everyone else are Irish. But of course, I have nothing but good things to say for those guys. But when I was just now looking at our team and what we're looking at, like I want to say it's been a really good year of all of our efforts to recruit new players. And so we are a young team. We'll give us that. We are a very young team, but just taking in, I've done a lot of good things with taking the feedback from guys who, from last year, and they want, more structure. They want this, they want that, and really bringing that into where, players are coming in, especially young players, and they're getting a very high level of football that they haven't gone at high school, which, we are going to be a young team, which we have stuff there. But what I love with our young team here is you guys are hungry. They understand they're coming into a men's league that is a very rich team, rich history. Daryl and Sherman definitely help with that, but as well, these kids are all, I should say kids, I should say, because they're all in grade 12 and I'm graduating, and they all say, I got my graduation coming up, but they're all hungry to practice, and I can instill a culture in these guys which will grow and is going to be more positive than what has been in the past. Because, one thing that, of course, we struggled with last year was with guys coming to practice, and, some guys are saying, I can't come to games, I can do this and all that. And I'm like, in a position now where I'm like, do I really want to do I don't want to say me because I'm not on the board or anything, but I guess I just step as a leader to instill a culture there. And
that's just who you are, man.
Yeah.
You're a leader, man. That's just who you are, bro.
And just do I tell veterans hey, look, if you're not going to show up to practice, I don't want to say don't bother come, because I would love to have them play, but understand that, hey, there's been guys who are hungry, getting after, who are younger and want it more. And
exactly.
And that's something too, which I think is really good. Again, we'll, when we get to the field and fire starts there, we'll see how things go. But I'm liking where we're at, just where culture wise we're building. Just looking at our group chat, I think there's the guys are bonding. I think a couple of the players are all out right now, so I love to see that. That's the brotherhood part that you get as a team, which we all love and enjoy, and especially when you're young, more in the 18, 19, 20, you can get away with that. I think all of us were in a different generation now where we have kids in the way, responsibilities, so we can't enjoy that. But we got a good thing growing here, which I like, and it definitely puts us in a lot healthier spot, which I'm loving to see.
Well, and I think for you, it's really cool for me to hear that, okay, you guys are young, because that's way better than being old, right? You guys, that's really good for the future of the Wolfpack and keeping that team around and keeping that team, and Daryl's always going to bring your average age up anyways, right? So it doesn't matter how many other young guys you get, but that's really good. That's exciting for me to hear, because I know it was kind of looking a little dicey, but I've said this multiple times, but I really enjoyed my time there with the people, with with Rob and you, Amari and Daryl, and everybody. I felt welcomed and I enjoyed my time there, and I hope you guys have success. I think the Wolfpack have the opportunity to surprise people as well. I think a lot of people are counting them out. I think this year is just going to be so good, parity wise. I think it can go any way.
I think a lot of the numbers are definitely transferable for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And even Cold Lake's I'm not saying that Cold Lake's gonna blow everybody out of the water by
I don't think so. Last year was pretty weak.
The biggest it's just how is everybody gonna match up against that defense? They had a good offense last year, but I still wouldn't put them among the most elite offenses that I've played against in the league.
No, it wasn't even close. It wasn't even
but
close.
That defense I'd rank up there in the top two maybe. They're ridiculous. I honestly and it's not even just the way they play the game, the way they approach their plays. It's the physicality, man. It makes a difference. They're coming down.
Their offense last year was good when it needed to be, but they didn't need it to be good. Do you know what I mean? The league itself last year, and this isn't a shot at Cold Lake, they did what they did, but the league last year was the weakest it's been in a while, and just overall, it just wasn't very strong. 2021 was strong in the sense that it had two good teams in the elite and the Bucks, but even 2020
Cold Lake was pretty good too that year.
They were okay. They were okay.
They're not what they were now, but for the overall stretch of that year, they were fairly good.
I think we beat them in 21. The Bucks beat Cold Lake by 40, so they weren't that good. They weren't that.
Your guys'
good.
offense was their
Our
defense
offense was
as good.
Ridiculous.
Your offense was nuts. Yeah.
It would have been
like,
interesting. Yeah, go ahead.
sorry, I think like going back to the Elite too, like because I was part of that 21 team, that was their first year too, and like I think being the COVID year and then having like this is no shot at any of the guys that came over from Ontario or whatever else, but when you're starting out a team and a bunch of guys come from another league and come over, like it was awesome playing with all those guys and having that experience with them. And you guys probably had the same thing with the Bucks, but the difference is you guys have been around for 20 years. There's a culture that's already instilled in a lot of the core guys and whatever else. We just didn't quite have that, you know what I mean? And I think it was one of those things where last year after those guys going away, like we identified with those guys, we matched up with them, we had a great time, like we were all homies on the field. But when you lose half your team like that the next year going back because they went back home, you know, you're missing some of your identity now, and you're missing some of those guys that would help push the other guys to be better. So I think that was something that they missed out on a little bit last year. But it's something that, you know, they had a year to get really those core guys like solidified who's going to be their guys and work for them and push everybody else to be better. And they're making a lot of improvements, man. I think you got a lot of people who are going to be surprised again. Like I said, but going back to the Wolfpack, I'm not counting them out at all. Like you got the legend, and it's great to hear that you got young guys coming in. Cause like I said, I played for the Stallions. We are another team that's getting ranked really low in these rankings, and it just fueled us. And we all had like a brotherhood. And I remember when that team folded, like a majority of the team didn't play again. Like if they didn't go to the Raiders, the team that came out of them, they stopped playing football. I almost stopped playing football entirely for it. I almost didn't go to juniors or anything else, but I decided that, you know, why not just give it a shot, see what happens.
You know, I always make fun of the Airdrie Irish jerseys, but the worst jerseys in AFL history were definitely the Edmonton Raiders. What the fuck was going on with I think it was orange pants and like blue.
We'll have to do a separate podcast on that team.
Oh my God, we would definitely just atrocious, absolutely atrocious. Okay, so we're running up close to time here. Our last team in the rankings is obviously Fort Mac. We've kind of talked about them a little bit. I think they're struggling with numbers. What I'm hearing, I have almost no idea about anyone that is playing on that team. I don't think any regular names. I don't think the Devin Stewarts. I know Mitchell Phillips is not. He used to play Fort Mac. He's with Edmonton now. Like who? I don't know. Have you heard anything about Fort Mac?
All I've heard is that like they don't have a lot of guys right now, and like, you know, I think that's really sad to see if that's the case. Like I said, I don't really know what's going on up there too much, but like from what I hear, it's not a great situation. I think it's overall a really if they can't find a way to get guys, I think it's like or to keep the guys that are from there. And I mean, again, it's a pay to play league. Like I have no qualms about a guy going to play with their guys, and like I get it. Like being a good player, you want to play with other good players. It's simple as that. And if you've had experience playing with the guy before, you like him, why not go play with your friend and know you're going to have a great year, right? Like I totally get it. But I think it'd be really sad to see if Fort Mac doesn't end up making it in the long run. I think they've had some great history. I think that facility is amazing. There's a lot going on up there. Like if you're a young guy and you're looking for some place to work and make some decent money and like still play some football, it's a great place to go. Will Arndt ended up playing up there and then went to the CFL, and like that dude was riding a bicycle to practices. Like, you know what I mean? And like they're able to set up places. Yeah, if you're a guy traveling up there like for the summer, like I think it should be completely within the rules of the AFL to set up a billet home. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like and I think like part of we touched on this before with paying players. Like I don't think we should pay players because like as a guy who pays fees, I think it's unfair to look at a guy like, oh, they're paying him to be here. With no, like if he's just coming to games to get a W. I don't think that helps the longevity of the league if he just shows up at a game and like just wrecks everybody. I think if you're going to bring guys from like another province or even, you know, out of the country because of how good they are at the game, the part of the contract or whatever you have with them should be like, you know, we'll help you find a place to live. You still have to get a job and whatever else. You still have to like, maybe you don't have to pay team fees, let's say, but part of your contract is you have to be at our practices and you have to help our other guys get better. Like you have to coach them. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what the ELF is doing from what I understand from the podcast with Rayshawn. And I think that's a great idea because it not only builds the teams, it builds the league, and it also builds the sport in this country.
Yeah.
Because now we're going to have better athletes. What if that guy goes on and coaches? Now he's got this other knowledge from this guy that he
Yeah.
can pass on to the young ones. It's just going to accelerate the sport that much more.
Well, and that's what we're really trying to do with this podcast is talk about stuff like this, get that out there, get those ideas out there, put them into the heads of the people that make these decisions and grow. Because, and I've said this a million times on the podcast, but the league itself has so much power to be so influential in so many different areas. And so we have to take advantage of that. And I think, I like all that you said there.
I think a part of it too is like, as a guy, again, who pays fees, I'd be okay if that guy, I know that guy's not paying fees this year, but he's putting in the work to help us all get better. And even if he's gone after a year, the team has gotten better because of him being there versus just, oh, they got some W's on the board and maybe won a championship.
That's the key, right? I like that, right? Like in order for this to be valid, you are coming to practices. We're holding you accountable. You are making us better. And that's yes, I 100% agree with that.
Yeah.
So I hope, Fort Mac, I hope you guys can figure that out. I hope that things go well there because that, they're coming, they've been in the league now 9 years, right? This is going to be their 9th year. So I hope they get going. We're running out of time, but there's still more I want to talk about with Syngyn. So I think next week we're going to move into, or we'll work out a time, Syngyn, that you can come back on here. Hopefully next weekend, once we get all the subscription fees up and running, and we can actually start paying for this podcast. We're going to do week 1 predictions. We'll get those games. We'll do predictions. We're going to do possible MVP candidates who we kind of think are kind of front runners before the season. And then we're going to really get into the in-season stuff, games of the week, and all the kind of like rivalry stuff and trash talk and all the good stuff that hopefully the season brings. So, Syngyn, thank you so much for being on. You did a really good job. You're a wealth of knowledge with the football. Keep watching the film. Omari, you got anything else?
No, just with it's I don't know, it creeps up fast. Like I remember doing the week 1 and having Cold Lake on everything and time, and it just zooms by. So I'm looking forward to, I think I'm mainly looking forward to the week 1 film because I'm about to binge it all. Like, about to watch Cold Lake, about to watch Grand Prairie, about to watch the Irish.
Answering all the questions, right? Like I say that all the time. It's like you can't wait. It's like you can't wait for the game, but then you can't wait for all the film to come out.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Like, you just want to see like who's got who's got what. Like it's a really exciting time of year, and I hope everyone's getting excited, and I hope this podcast helps people get excited.
Yeah, so I'm definitely looking forward to that. Yeah, no, I was like, I feel like this is probably going to be a 2-parter and many parts to come because I think we only scratched the surface of what with Syngyn with having you on and everything and what you bring. So, appreciate being on everything. And it was a really, really insightful time.
Syngyn, are you muted?
Hold on. Sorry, my screen blacked out.
Oh yeah, no worries. We were just saying thanks for being on, buddy.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you guys having me on, and I'm excited to get on here a little bit more with you guys and answer any more questions that you guys got, especially again about the Stallions. That was a team I was really passionate about and really got me into the sport and like pushed me to go where I went. And now I've been doing big things with cleats and stuff now too, and we can touch on that again.
Oh yeah, no, talk about that quickly, Syngyn. Yeah, go ahead. Talk about your cleats because that's cool. And I've had actually a lot of people ask me about that. So go ahead with the cleats.
Okay, sick. So yeah, I started a company, Momentum Customs. I've been customizing cleats for about a year, actually just over a year now. Professionally,
and they're awesome. I've seen them. They're really cool.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, check me out on Instagram at Momentum Customs. Exactly how it sounds. If you can do English, you can spell it. It's good. But all my content's on there. But I've worked with like James Wilder Jr., Rashawn Simon. I just did a pair for Scott Hutter, and I've signed on with the Elks to do like their My Cause My Cleats. They're calling it Cleats of Strength, and we're going to be debuting cleats throughout the season at home games of my artwork, working with some of the Stollery kids. So I'm really excited about that.
Dude, that's amazing. So are you an artist? Like, how did you get into that?
Yeah, so like I've kind of always drawn and stuff my whole life, and like I never really took any like crazy classes other than like high school courses and just like a natural kind of talent for it. But my mom is like a crazy good artist, so I always grew up watching her draw. And so I always kind of compared my work to her, and I could never like get it close to perfect enough. So I never pushed myself to be good at it. And then it was like about, I don't know, maybe 8 years ago or so, I was looking on YouTube and I saw these custom shoes, and I wanted to do it. So I bought shoes right away with no equipment to do it or whatever else. I ended up just having them sit in my closet forever because I didn't have the motivation after that to go and get the rest, because I found that the paints are really hard to get in Canada. So I ended up eventually getting an airbrush recently, and I hydro dipped my cleats for 2021. I had gold and black marbled cleats with some gold laces. Nothing too flashy, but I just wanted to try it out and see how like my prep process and everything worked. And then, yeah, I just took a shot on myself when I had an opportunity one-on-one with James Wilder at a networking event, and just kind of picked it up from there and did his cleats and just kept going. Did a couple others, Edmonton Elks players, and just, kept going, man. Just believe in the dream. And the same thing how I did in football with the AFL, man. I just pushed to be the best, dude. Like,
that's incredible, right? It's just like you have a dream, go for it. And it's I know people. I mean, most football players who love the game of football understand the look good, play good, feel good.
Yeah,
and that cleats are a part of it. And I'm always looking to do that. So I'm going to be getting some new ones this year and hitting you up on that one. And I know you're a cat guy like myself. So my question is, I would love to get like just a little like picture of my cat who passed away not too long ago. Can you do that? Can you do?
Yeah,
cat
I can probably
faces?
do some like artistic like rendering of it. Like I don't do like super high realism.
No. It doesn't have to. No. Yeah.
Yeah. But I can definitely do like a little bit of a touch on it. Like a look like your cat will be like a sticker form almost. Like a look.
Put her name on it.
Yeah, dude. I can do like you've seen some of my work, so you know what I'm kind of capable of. But yeah, I can make that happen for you. No worries.
Cool.
Yeah.
So Momentum Customs.
Momentum Customs. MOMENTUM Customs with a C.
Cool. And if people want that, they just. So do you need like white cleats, or can you do it with any colored cleats?
I can do it with any color cleats, but I really prefer to work on like all white or black.
For sure.
The problem with black is like you got more options with all white. Like I can do like the sock liners for you and stuff like that with all whites. With blacks, I obviously can't change the color of black.
Yeah,
it's really hard to do. It can happen, but like the quality won't be as good. It won't be comfortable on your feet. So that at the end of the day, like it's got to look good, but also work for you too, right? So I'm not going to do anything that is going to impact the way you play or anything like that, or how you feel in the cleats.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I can't do is the cleat plates at the bottom of your cleat. So if you want a specific colored cleat, like I know you're with the Bucks, you want a red bottom, you got to find me a cleat with a red bottom. Right?
Okay.
Or supply one. Because like that's the other thing too. Right now, I don't have the ability to wholesale cleats at any rates to be pumping them out and be selling them with artwork on them already. So you got to send me your cleats. I can do used, I can do new. Like again, I prefer if you're going to send me new, maybe break them in a little bit too, because then I can see where your crease marks are, and then there's less chance of the paint cracking. It'll stretch where you need it to stretch and things like that.
Right. Cool. Maybe one day though, that's the next thing, right? You can just start pumping out your own cleats.
Yeah, dude. That's kind of the idea. Hopefully, I'll be able to get a couple pairs in here, and then I'll just put them up on sale. Like I'm thinking about trying to see if I can get some, used cleats or some cheaper new cleats and do some work on them and see if I can sell them on Marketplace, or I'm starting up a website here. And
dude, I think that would be a cool way to go. I think there'd be that'd be cool. So Momentum Customs, check that out, guys, if you're interested in that. Some custom cleats. Omari, send us off.
Hey, appreciate everyone tuning in. Looking forward to everything heating up. We're 3 weeks away. We're either 8 practices, 6 practices, 7 practices away from the first game. So hope everyone's doing what they can to get ready, showing to practice. You can check us out here on Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube, AFL Uncensored. Give us a like, give us a comment, subscribe. We're looking forward to growing this and heating it up, and especially when we look at adding on the NFC and seeing what that looks like. Like the sky's unlimited. So appreciate everyone tuning in, and we'll see you all next time.
Awesome. Thanks, boys. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, boys.
Yep. Talk soon.
Later.